Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Mortgage Heroes Weekly Podcast. I'm Andy.
I'm Brian.
And I'm Will.
And today, we got all three of us back today. It's been a couple weeks. Has it been like a month, maybe?
It has.
Because it was like you and me for one or two, and then it was you and me. Hey, you guys should do your you guys should just do the two yourselves at one time. Yeah. I'll go do something. How about next week?
Sorry.
I'll be gone next week.
Sorry.
What if I'm actually gone next
That
week?
just felt good.
Yeah.
Not have to worry about anything. It was
You know
great.
what? I just ran into somebody. They were like, "Oh, I was in Alaska like 3 weeks ago." I was like, "Wait a minute!" Like, so was Will.
Yeah.
They said it
Yeah.
was the most beautiful trip they'd had like in a long time.
I'm glad. It was relaxing for me.
Like all those pictures you were sending, making us jealous.
Yeah. You know, mine was so relaxing. My eyesight, like I came back, it doesn't want to read anything anymore.
Oh boy,
Does it
sounds like
It relaxed so much.
that really sounds like a different problem. But
Hey, we're looking at it a positive way.
okay, well, guys, we have the Fed making rate cuts. We have changes in housing. There's obviously things moving and changing in the landscape of real estate and mortgage. So we kind of have a packed show. Our topic up top is a little bit lengthy because it has to do with the Fed.
Yes.
And now that we've finally gotten here, I want to make sure we give it its due time. So right from the top, guys, we're going to talk about the Fed. The Fed just cut interest rates, and we have 12 key money moves to make. So let's first talk about the interest rate cut, and then we'll talk a little bit, and we can kind of maneuver some of these because this article, this is from bankrate.com. So it's going to cover a lot of things because Bankrate does a lot of things. We don't do a lot of these things, but let's talk about what the impact of money will be based on the Fed's rate cut. So as everyone by this point has seen, Jerome Powell and the Fed decided to cut their key interest rate by 50 basis points, which is 0.5%. Yeah. And broadly in the mortgage space, the market was kind of like, yeah, we were expecting that.
Yeah, well, it's been expected already for like months before.
Since like August, right?
Yeah,
the beginning of the month, they were like kind of going down. So the market didn't really have the reaction that I think maybe everyone was expecting it to have. Yeah. But because it already happened. Yeah.
Well, yeah, exactly. It already happened. And there's a lot of other market indicators that come into play that will just influence it, right? For it to not have such a drastic change like we thought we were going to have. Because, I mean, in the beginning, last month, it was about 0.25%. Yeah. And it was like 80-some% felt confident it was going to be 0.25%. And then last 3 weeks, everything just switched. It was more like 50 basis points. And there we have it.
And
50 basis points.
I think this has to do with the jobs thing that you and I talked about and you and I talked about. That 818,000 overstatement of jobs created, I think actually weighed in pretty heavy onto why they ended up going with the 50 basis point. Because I didn't think they were going to do 50. Yeah. Because when again, the projection was if they do a 50 basis point cut, that's an admission that they waited too long or they need to do a lot right now because they didn't like what they saw.
Correct.
And I think they didn't like what they saw.
That's what I was going to follow up and say as well, that I feel that, it kind of took the market by a slight surprise. I mean, we knew a 25 basis point cut was coming, but I feel like the market was like, wait, do you guys know something that we might not know that's going on? Because it was pretty we saw rates already coming down the last few weeks. And then this last week, we actually, went up a little bit higher, which is actually, what I've seen from past data. It's actually very common for whenever they cut rates for them to kind of digress back a little bit, even after they had already been, dropping the last previous weeks.
And I think that sentiment is kind of across the board. I was reading a lot of articles over the weekend and also into the new week talking about just what the impact is. And there's still a lot of people trying to figure out, okay, where's this leave us? Because now the conversation is, well, now they did 50. Yeah. Now they're projecting, or the people in economics and analysts are saying, well, they're probably going to do another 0.25% in November and another 0.25% in December, which means now we're talking about an entire percent change lower in just 4 months.
Yeah.
And that means that maybe all is not well in Fed land, like we've been hoping they were being candid about.
And Jerome Powell was, adamant about saying that, hey, just because we did a 50 basis point doesn't mean we're opening up the door and it's going to be like, hey, next time another 50, because they're still going to stay very data dependent and seeing how the inflation still comes out and other factors that affect rates. But I think that it was a much needed cut, but now we're going to have to see how the rest of the data comes out the next couple of weeks to see if they're going to either cut again, hold off, but then again, the data will let us know.
Yeah. I mean, we already saw it. We've been locking in interest rates and stuff. And right now, I cannot offer to lock a client to what I offered 3 weeks ago. It was much better pricing 3 weeks ago or a month ago versus what it is right now. So whoever we just closed, they just got a better deal.
So let's make a pit stop point right there because we talk about this all the time, and I know that people watching from the sidelines go, they just say that because they're in sales. And we say you're supposed to be prepared, be proactive, so that when the market conditions are better for you, you can take advantage of it. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Everyone thinks when I say that, I'm putting on the sales hat, and I'm like, I'm just trying to push more mortgages and move more product through escrow. Okay, that can't happen if the deal isn't good and you don't qualify. I'm talking about if you're qualifying, you need to be ready and prepared so that you can do this, what he's talking about. Because now you're looking in the rearview mirror going, rates were better 3 weeks ago than they were right now.
Something I heard that was a very interesting point of view was that historically the best time to buy was a few years ago, but today's probably likely better than tomorrow.
That's like a really broad stroke over the last 100 years.
Yeah,
that's great.
I think a good point of view to look at it right now, if you're looking to be in the market, is if you're going to plan to live in the property for more than 4 years, I don't think timing the market and trying to find the right time to enter the market is going to be the best bet for you. So I think just look for that good deal and then pull the trigger, because chances are that it's going to be a lot more difficult in the months to come. Then it's going to be a lot easier.
It's really hard to peg that right, like being
it's
so
such
exact
a tale
and
of two
accurate.
stories, because it's like you wait for rates to drop and then inventory to pick up, only to get slashed by more competition that is only going to eat up all that new inventory. So it's kind of like, what do I do? But at the same time, it's take it from your future point of view. If you're going to be in the property for the long term, then focus.
Exactly.
Down and,
well, the good thing Andy started with we got to prepare it, and going to the first things here states get a snapshot of your personal finances. Which is good. Yeah, start creating that budget. Now that we see that they cut 50 basis points, well, what does that affect? That's going to affect people's credit card. That's going to affect the adjustable rate mortgage on a HELOC, right? Mm-hmm. Which is a good thing. Car loan. Some people we've just been putting in a back burner whether they really need that car or not, but now we're starting to see a little bit of breathing room right there. Mm-hmm. So start building. It states pretty much start building your budget. How many of you have a budget ready?
Yeah, comment below if you actually use a personal budget. I actually wrote here in that same section, make a personal profit and loss statement. Yeah. Like, what's my income? What's my expenses? I mean, legitimately what they are. And then they're saying here, print out your statements. If you don't actually know, you can look online. That's fine. Yeah. Maybe you don't want to print them out. That's fine. Don't print them out. Take a screenshot of your statements. Write out all the money coming in. Make all the money that is there making interest and see what that is. And then figure out all your debts. List them all out by name, by balance. Put the interest rate there, and at least know what the heck you're looking at. A lot of times people go, "Oh, that statement came in the mail." Throw it in the trash.
I don't want to see it.
It's on auto pay or whatever. I get it. I understand. I have the convenience of auto pay too for a lot of things. Oh yeah. But I still look because I got to know what's going. Gotta go know what's going on.
The good thing, my auto pays Tanya.
You have auto pay and she has auto pay.
She's auto pay. I don't even know what it is. But it stays right there, just exactly what you said. Then keep track of the income and expenses flowing in and out of your budget each month. So that's what you want to do. Is create that budget.
There's a really good tool that I use, and it's not a paid advertising. It's called Rocket Money, and it actually logs in right into your bank account, and it will basically track all your expenses, break them down from utilities, recreational, medical, auto insurance. Yeah. Basically, any bill you could kind of set up your own profile, and it's going to track your spending. It's going to let you know how much came in, how much came out, and then you can go over month and compare all your stuff.
Really good.
I know where you saw that.
Huh?
You saw it on TikTok.
No, I saw it on YouTube on an ad.
Or on Instagram, because I remember seeing
But no, they're all over the place.
Advertising, it's all over.
Yeah. And they actually Rocket bought them out because they used to be called something else. And
Got it.
Yeah, but Rocket Money.
No, that's good information. Get these tools. These are tools that are there accessible to us. Always utilize your resources.
So we're going to continue, but some of these things that we're going to just gloss over because they're not really relevant to exactly what we do. But I want to point out a couple things. The next thing, memo is keep chipping away at high interest rate debts.
I like that.
We talk about this all the time. You brought up a situation last week where you're talking about someone who's paying off a lot of personal credit card debt, high interest, and using their refinance to do that, their cash out in order to do that, and saving like $3,000 a month.
Yeah.
Like when he said that, Brian, I was like, what? Wait. You're talking about out of pocket? Their expenses went on $3,000 a month. It's crazy.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah. So, right now, it's all about and this is all good information because it just kind of it reiterates what we've been talking about, right? Like it really does, and it's saying prioritize eliminating your high interest rate debt. Yeah. When I read this, I was like, wait a minute, you're right. Credit cards are right now like 21, 25% versus before I used to see 8. 16%. You know what I mean? And
Long gone.
Hey, your interest charges at the end of the month, they start going up. It used to be a lot less. I'm like, oh, it's not bad. And then now I'm looking at like $80, $100. I'm like, yo, whoa, like, that's just interest.
And then you're just not paying anything off.
No, you're not. I'm literally like,
just treading water, just barely keep your nose above. So if you can, and you do what this is saying here, you can consolidate some of your outstanding balances as long as you're disciplined in doing so.
Yeah.
If you can get that budget together, get that profit and loss, transfer some of those balances to zero card transfer for the first 12 months, 18 months, something like that. That also will have some sort of commensurate high rate at the end of that term. So know what that is, be disciplined about it. And then the savings, and this is what I wrote down to share with everybody here today. If you can already pay, let's say $200 a month to that card with the high interest rate, and by consolidating it to a zero interest rate transfer, let's say you're paying $150. Take that extra $50 and put it in something that's compounding.
Yeah.
Put it in something like your savings. Put it into another account that might have access to and exposure to the market where it can grow and do some interest. I know I'm only using a small example. But the point is, if you're already used to spending the $200 out of pocket, and you can consolidate and spend less to pay off your debt, take that difference and put it in a place where it can grow.
Yeah. No, I love that advice because that's one of the things that I've done. Back in 2010, that's when I learned the whole borrowing from Peter to pay Paul. And that's the reference that I use is, going to the zero introductory rate credit cards, and I would get them for like 18 months with all balance transfers. So I'd pay that, and then I just try to focus on just putting a little more. What I would do is, 18 months. So if I had just for example, $1,000 debt, I divide it over 18 months, and that's what I would pay. So that at the end of the term, it's all pretty much done. At the same time, sometimes we're not in that position to be able to pay that. So what you want to do is just try to pay as much as you can. Your credit will get better. And so therefore by 18 months, you're kind of preparing, not even 18, like 14, you start looking into, I'm not going to pay that thing off. That thing's going to go to like 32%. So I might just do the same thing, rinse and repeat.
Can I ask you something? What is something you shouldn't do when you transfer over the balance of the previous card?
Reuse it, recharge it, right? Like try to pay it off.
Yeah, there you go. Or close it, because if you close it, your credit's
correct. Yeah, one of the things you don't want to do ever is close any credit cards. Allow the creditors to close it, because then that way, when you show that you're getting a lot of debt, what you want to do is just make sure that you don't close it if you're paying it down. And if you already paid it off, don't close it.
Yeah,
yeah. It kills all that credit history that shows on-time payments.
That's what it is. Yes.
If you have 36 months of paying on time, and you finally pay off that credit card, and you're like celebrating being debt-free, that's awesome. Yeah. You can cut that card up. You can put it in the shredder. You can toss it in the trash. You can leave it open with the bureaus so that you still have on your credit history credit. I'm saying that 36 months of clean payments on time, and it's still open. It's going to be open until they close it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing here, the other cool thing was the next one was watch out for the right time to refinance.
Yes.
I like that one.
You know what I mean? And so, and it states here pretty much, if you can reduce the fixed mortgage rate by 1/2 to 3/4 percentage point, it's time to do the math on how quickly you can recover the closing costs. And there's a method in the math that we do, like VA, you got to recoup the closing costs within 36 months. So if you're looking to sell the house or you're looking to, do something within the next 3 to 5 years, that's a good time to really look at that and see if it's worth the while.
Yeah. It's a good strategy too for paying down debt. If you're using your refinance to get your monthly payment lower, using that difference in order to pay down debt, or even put it into some sort of growth fund, that would help as well.
Exactly.
Because again, you're attacking on multiple fronts at the same time, which is kind of the takeaway.
And that's what I think the article is going to go and talk about as well. Some of those differences.
Yep.
But I like that advice. Just help if the numbers make sense. The cool thing with a lot of these refinances, you'll skip 2 months payments, and then you get what's currently in your escrow account, the property taxes. You strategize to get that back. You know what I mean? And so that could help you pay off some debt, and that's what we practiced the last couple of months.
Yep. And especially for the higher loan amounts that people have with higher rates that you closed maybe a year and a half ago, even a small change in percentage could be a bigger difference than a lower amount having a higher percentage.
Yeah.
So definitely check the numbers, because you could be saving anywhere between $150 to $300 if you're calculating your numbers right.
Next is just work on boosting your credit score. That's really kind of a plain statement, but we've talked about this on the show. Separate from this article, we've talked about this. Hey, what do you do when you are on the sidelines and you can't afford to buy? Work on your credit, save money as much as you can, pay down your debt. If you don't have any credit, establish credit.
Yeah, exactly.
So credit is going to be a part of your borrowing life in some form or function.
I'm telling you.
While you're unable or not ready, then you could be readying yourself and your financial picture so that when the time does come, you're nice and ready to go.
I was actually reading this article and it says rejection rates were highest for individuals with credit scores below 670.
Yeah, 670. Yeah,
670.
not like 620.
No.
Not 670.
Yeah.
And
So
I know
always-
we're seeing our best stuff at 720 or 740 and higher.
Yeah.
Like 670's okay.
Yeah.
But where we're going to see the best for people is 740 and above.
I mean, and then you remember last year when they were putting that rule on the hits. Even if you have high credit.
I don't know if our watchers now even know what that was, but
Yeah.
that
It was so
that
silly.
kick
It was
in
like
the
a month
butt.
of like, what the freak?
That was really insulting. Like, oh,
That
you have good
was.
credit, we're going to charge you more to borrow the money.
But that was
'cause you're
only
so
on conventional.
Yeah.
FHA and VA do not have that rule.
Doesn't matter. I'm still mad about it.
You know, yeah.
I'm still mad about it. That was
Hey,
terrible.
and then the way they try to play, like, no, well, if you did a credit, other people that don't have good credit, they need a little
it's like
bit of
punishing
help. I'm
people
like,
for
what the
being
heck?
disciplined. You're like, we're gonna charge you more because you're disciplined. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, so basically it says to improve your credit scores, concentrate on making all debt payments on time and keeping your credit utilization ratio as low as
Yeah.
possible.
Yep.
You know, what that means is don't charge your card that much.
Keep those balances really low.
I know
compared
it's
to
very
the
hard.
limit.
It's easy to say right here, right? Because we're talking about
Sure.
it. But everybody's situation is difficult. It's different. Some people they're barely making ends meet right now.
Yeah.
Living
That's happening
paycheck
a
to
lot.
paycheck. And I mean, I know I rely on my credit cards a lot, and my goal's always been to pay it off at the end of the month, pay it off. There's been a few months where I haven't been able to do so.
I'll give you a personal analogy. I had a situation not too long ago where I was like, I have to do suspension and tire work on one of my vehicles, and I also am trying to get plane points, flight points, so I can go and see my daughter across the country.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to use my card in this case because I have to pay this $1,100 for all this repair work, but that's also going to earn me this over here, which can pay for my ticket over there.
Yeah.
So I was like, how can I just situate the money so I'm not using my cash right now? I'm still using cash because I got to pay that card off, but it's earning me the points for the flight. So based on the way I was able to calculate it, it actually worked out.
Yeah, no, it's great. I use my American Express Platinum, everything,
You know what? I use your American Express Platinum too.
Yeah.
What? I use it
It's
too.
like, wait a minute,
And
wait.
here's probably something like our military doesn't know, but for military personnel, they have no annual fee for that card.
Oh, for the Amex?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they have no annual
wow.
fee for
Sign me
us.
up, I'm
We
going to
do,
the
but
military.
There
they
you go.
don't. And what's cool about that
Cool.
is you use it for hotels, you use it for.
yeah, you're basically just paying
you
cash.
just fly, and if you're not flying first class, you can go to their lounge anyways. Centurion lounges,
really
which
cool.
have everywhere. So
That's really nice.
I didn't
Yeah.
know that.
Oh,
you know
yeah.
what? I am going to start using your card now,
Oh, there
for
you
real.
go.
I was
Okay.
joking a second ago, but since you told me Tanya puts it on auto pay, I'm just going to start using it.
Tanya is
Centurion.
auto pay.
Hey, Brian, we're going to go to dinner after this.
Centurion?
Okay.
The next one that I really liked right here was think twice about big ticket purchases.
I put some of that too.
And I like that because I put right here because we go through it right now and things aren't as beautiful as one may seem. We all have our struggles, and I put right here if it's something, is it something you need or want? If it's a want, put that aside, make the sacrifice. Not right now, later. I thought for Tanya and I, just going to one vehicle was going to be really tough. We've been doing it. We've been doing it for the past year and stuff. I think maybe even longer than that. So, and it's not like we can't go get another car. We can, but is it a need?
Do you need it?
Or a want? I mean, we work at the same place. We live in the same place.
Yeah.
We go
You
work out
eat
to the same place.
You guys are
We go
one.
visit the grandkids
Yeah.
at the same place.
All
Yeah.
together.
Yeah.
So just always think about that, guys. I just say that just in general, women, men, everybody.
Yeah.
I think
Only
but-
the guys?
Yeah, not just the guys.
especially the guys now.
But yeah, right?
No,
Yeah.
100%. I'm with you 100%. I even wrote down, don't go out financing shit you don't need. Double down and build the war chest.
That's it.
When you said, it isn't all, pretty, everybody's going through a situation, this last, economic downfall, really taught me a lot about, being able to save, yeah, we make, good amounts of money, but also saving it for a rainy day. This past experience, really opened up my eyes. And now moving forward, when it's like, instead of me saying, hey, I'm going to go and want to buy this, I'm like, how much money can I save and still keep the amount of spending at the lowest so that I could, actually build my war chest so that next time around, everything's on sale.
Yeah.
Instead of saying damn, now I have to work harder, re up my my savings. But at the same time, I'm like, I did listen that if you made it these last 28 months, you either learned a very expensive lesson or you learned enough to know that, hey, we said, last October was the hottest, the rates got the highest. I mean, and it's like you touch the stove and you're like, ooh, I don't want to go through that anymore. And I think a lot of people learn that. And if you didn't, I hope you don't have to learn it in any other way. But I think a lot of learning experiences and a lot of good learning lessons came out of this last couple of 20.
I mean, and this economy has taken down a lot of companies. I mean, if you look at how many companies are going, so if sometimes I kind of look at it like, man, I'm going through. Like I look at these companies that were around for 30, 40 years, and they're no longer here. That's to tell you something.
And I literally get the goosebumps because that's exactly
Dude,
that.
shut up, man. You're shaving your arms.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyways, next subject.
Yeah.
No, make your point. Make your point.
Yeah.
No, I was gonna say it. Like it's so crazy that you look at yourself like you think it's so bad, but then you look at these bigger companies that are like, they're laying off thousands. They're bankrupt millions, and we're over here like,
Yeah. Google, Facebook.
Yeah.
But
one of my favorite car brands.
So
one of my favorite car brands is just filed bankruptcy recently for $3.2 billion. I think $3.2 billion. It's the Hoonigan brand, which encapsulates all these other car enthusiast off-road type industries. And there's a whole story behind it. I'm not going to get into it, but I think it's like $3.2 billion. And I was like, whoa, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money.
Hey, I can't pay that
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah,
So
it was a very public filing just about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. I know in social media it portrays everything's perfect.
And one of the things I will say is just the sooner you could get honest with yourself and just take responsibility and just look at yourself in the mirror. Hey, I made that bad decision. I learned from it. Like, as long as you're cognizant about that, I think moving forward, you'll have a better idea of what to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm going to skip past a couple of these guys because I want to move on to the other topics. But if you're interested in learning all the rest of these things listed here in this article, the description will be in the box. You can click in the article and see all these. But essentially, they're talking about keeping up frequent communication with credit card issuers. When the good times are working, or good times for savers will mean more money long term.
Yeah.
Inflation is going down. We're gonna talk about that in a second. And then building your emergency fund. So, and again, these are like kind of mostly like and they're really obvious things, but it's a matter of doing them. I think that's kind of my takeaway is that start being fully 100% aware of your situation financially. Get yourself a budget. Know where your money is coming in. Know where it's going out. Know what's going to. Know what it's costing you. Know how long it's going to cost you. Know how much you're saving. Where you're saving it, and how much you're going to earn on that. And as you can do that and invest over time, you're going to be insulated from market volatility. Yeah. And that is the essence of what the ending of this is. For my side of it is just it takes out the volatility for you when you're fully aware of what's going on. And you're prepared for the unprepared.
Well, I'm going to go with one more, Andy, before we actually skip to the other one. I love 11. It says, think about your career and income opportunities. What I liked about that, it's pretty much saying investing yourself. The best, recession-proof situation you could encounter is by investing in yourself, learning a new opportunity. And, I want to use an example like, we've been doing traditional lending for so many years. And the last year and a half, we started learning fix and flip, something that we've had under our noses. DSCR, debt service cover ratio loans. We knew about it. We understood the acronym, but we didn't know how they work. So we invested into that. And now, all of a sudden, we're doing fix and flip, and we're helping other investors become successful at what they're doing. We're helping investors. They thought they were going to fix and flip a property, but we're helping them build their portfolios now because we have the right information and the right products to help them now keep these properties. So I want to share that because that was a pivotal point in our career in 2023 that really helped us kind of carry on through that difficult year. And now
it's just
we're just investing in ourselves. Now I got a couple of properties, and like I'm telling Tanya a couple of weeks ago, like, can you believe we're under construction building ADUs and we don't even, she's never even visited once?
And it's because you're
prepared.
Crazy. You're prepared.
Yeah.
You know where your money's at, you know what it's doing, and you're prepared. Like this is the outcome that I'm basically trying to convince people of. Like, you're doing the outcome that we keep talking about and encouraging people to do.
And
that's it.
And it's like it's like learning a new language. We completely opened ourselves up to a whole new demographic, a whole new pool of different clientele, and that's the thing that I appreciate a lot about our industry is that there's so many different ways to diversify yourself, so many different ways to find business. And I think that, adding this into our tool belt has really just opened up the doors for even more for our future, for our kids' future. And I think that's a beautiful, way to invest for your future, for your family, and just for yourself. As long as you have somebody that, hey, they're down, like, just go ahead and do it, because I think in the end, you're not going to fail.
Yeah. How many of our clients are now doing ADUs because of what we're,
everybody's
and it's everything that we're trying to do is inspire others. Trust me, if I can do it, I'm telling you, you guys can do it.
And
I sincerely mean that.
Like, we're showing up to the build site in flip-flops, shorts, no hard hats. Like, thankfully...
Wait, hard hats? With hard hats.
Yeah.
With hard hats.
Yeah, we do have hard hats. But thankfully there's a great team that, takes care of all that, and it allows you not to have to be micromanaging. And that's, what a lot of, what I think is the most important thing, having the right team to be able to execute it. Yeah.
So this 111, invest in yourself.
Heck yeah.
Make yourself recession proof. Just get into it. Get uncomfortable. And a lot of times it just takes, and you don't have to put endless hours into it. It's just everything takes time. Like they say, one thing you can't buy is knowledge. You have to go through it.
Yeah. Yeah. Some of that you just have to experience. But that personal development part is a great point. Thank you for making that comment as I'm like blasting through it. I'm glad you had that written down. Yeah. We're moving on. We're moving on to mortgage rates dive to 6% as housing market shows sense of optimism from Realtor.com.
Yep.
Now, we have seen this firsthand, and even below 6 for those government loans. So for specifically VA, which we do a ton of VA loans, and right now a lot of VA IRRRLs and VA cash outs. This obviously is a historic cut because we've had such a prolonged time of interest rates being, let's say, high or elevated.
Yeah.
I'll say elevated in this little window of time, the last like maybe 10, 15 years, but not elevated when you look back at the 80s. You're going to stretch all the way back to the 80s, and you're going to go, oh, but houses were 18%. They were also 40 grand. I think the rates coming down, we talked about at the top of the show, it's mostly baked in. The market was expecting it. There was some market things that are happening in the Japanese bond market and the United States side that was causing there to be some immediate change in their 10-year yield, which then brought all bonds in that same direction. And so I think we were benefiting early from some of the rate change in August, even though the Fed rate change now has happened in September.
And again, that we talked about this last week. People think, the regular consumer thinks that when the Fed reduces the Fed funds rate, rates go down, interest rates. No, what happens is that influences how we're borrowing money, how the banks borrow money from the Fed. Also influences, like HELOCs, credit cards. We talked about car loans. It does have influence in the mortgage because it has an influence to the 10-year treasury. And that's how we get our mortgage rates, right, Andy?
Yeah, from the mortgage-backed security market, yes. And it trends very tight with the 10-year yield. So when you see the bonds move in a certain direction, mortgage rates typically follow that same direction.
Yeah.
And so, like we talked about last week, when there's more money that comes into the system, it becomes less expensive to lend out.
Yeah.
When there's scarcity of money, it is more expensive to lend out. So that's kind of like the essence of it. But what I'm bringing up here for people who have not been following this kind of storyline is that the summer wasn't really the summer.
Nope.
I think the fall is going to be our summer where people are now off the sidelines. Inventory is coming back up. Mortgage rates are going down. I do think that some people are waiting the sidelines for the election because they're like, who's going to win? Person A, person B. But I think this is a great sign because I think it's going to motivate some people to actually to take action. Where they were waiting for the Fed to do something, where they're economically, let's say, close enough or curious enough to know that the Fed's making some plan. They're cooking in the kitchen. Now that they've done what they've done, okay, I think some people are going to show up. I think we're already seeing it. I mean, that's what's happening.
I feel a good amount of people finally said, like, okay, I think they're going to stop raising rates, so let's start creeping back in, but still slowly be cautious about what's going to happen because they mentioned if inflation, stays controlled, we can expect rates to continue to come down. But if any sign of inflation coming up higher, we could go right back up and they could raise rates again. So I think it's just taking it day by day, understanding the data, and just making decisions based off your plans and not timing it and trying to say, hey, I want to get a good deal to roll the dice.
Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Yeah. Although when I see this 0.5%, I got excited.
Yeah.
Because we were all really anticipating 0.25%. And then it was crazy. For the last couple of weeks, like 68% of the people said it was going to be 50 basis points. And like 23 thought it was only going to be, 25 basis points. So seeing this 50 just gets me excited, but also gives me concern, right?
Side eye.
Because, it's like, okay, it went that drastic. And we already know a lot of market conditions can influence that decision.
Yeah.
Right. So hopefully the Fed is getting it right to have made that type of movement this quick, with the 0.5%. And I know that you were talking about earlier about another quarter to two more
quarter point cuts.
So that would be pretty crazy.
So here's what's curious to me, guys, because they specifically use the word in the title, sense of optimism. And it reveals to me how sensitive we are as consumers. On the consumer side, I think people who are, let's say, well enough aware of what's happening to know when to strike when the iron's hot or when to wait, it really does reveal a personal, like behavioral or even psychological sensitivity to market conditions.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that we don't talk about it on the optimistic side a lot. It's always on the negative side. It's, people are on the sidelines waiting. Affordability. And I mean, I'm admitting that we're the ones saying that. Like we're delivering the bad news because that's what there was.
That's what there is.
It's hard.
But
yes, rates were the highest they were in 23 years. Yes, affordability is at an all-time low. Right. So I think the sense of optimism is warranted. I guess what I was trying to say. It's warranted, number one. Number two, I'm glad to see it. It makes me optimistic about what the future of housing looks like. And even though these conditions have changed, we're not seeing prices plummet. They may be softening, but they're not plummeting and they haven't fallen off a cliff. And I don't know if they will, because the current inventory is just absorbing the demand that's already there. Yeah. And there's going to be still continued demand because now affordability is going to ease up and people can get these rates that we're now offering in the market.
No, exactly.
So I read something interesting by the Chicago Fed president, Austin Goolsbee, that he mentioned over the next 12 months, we have a long way to come down and get to interest rates to something like neutral, is what he said. And the median Fed forecast puts neutral at 3%.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see, how close we get to that because they said 2% for inflation. So
that's a ways away.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's you're talking about inflation or the Fed funds rate at 3?
Fed fund rate at
Fed funds rate at 3%. Yeah, it's at 4.75 right now, right?
So
So if we're at 4.75, we get 2 more quarter points by the end of the year. We'll be at 4.25. That means there's still 1.25 left to get to 3. That might be an interesting 2025.
Yeah.
That would be really. I don't know. Do you think that's too much? Do you guys? So. What do you guys think? Like you're again. I know you know I'm going to ask you this, but do you think that's too much if we go Fed funds rate all the way back down to 3?
I think it's too much. I don't think we're there yet.
Might break something.
Yeah, not right away. But I mean, do you think that over the next 12 to 18 months that we go?
I think 18 months. I think 18 months. 2026 is where I think we'll see that.
Okay.
So they said
not 2025.
By Q1 2025, it's expected that mortgage rates are expected to be around 5%.
I think people are going to love that. I mean, obviously, the answer always is going to be, the lowest ever. The lowest is better, right? Okay, we get that. If 4%, I think would just go bonkers. I think prices would skyrocket at 4%. I think 5 might be a nice barometer where, again, maybe using the neutrality word, maybe that's what he's talking about. I'll piggyback on that and say, I think there's some neutrality in that at 5%. I know right now with, again, VA loans, we're already in those 5s, the 5 range, and based on the loan amount, that's certainly true. But I think 5 o'clock. I think 5%. Hey guys, is it 5 o'clock yet?
Almost.
I think 5% is like psychologically key.
Yeah,
it's a nice even number people can grasp onto. They go, okay,
5 is healthy.
I can get. It's not 7. Yeah. Okay,
closer to 8.
3's in the rearview mirror. We missed it. We're not going to get 5. I can deal with 5.
It's just any rate reduction right now is a huge help to that new home buyer or that person looking at refinance. A 0.25% is going to take them anywhere from 100. I'm going to say between $80 to $120 of savings a month.
Now, do you guys think this is going to help home builders more than it will help existing home inventory? Have you thought about who do you think that's going to benefit more? Because you have the build time if you're a builder, and then you have the existing homes that may need to be upgraded or modernized. So there's kind of two different products on the market.
I think, here's the thing. With the new home builders, the great thing about that is they're going to leverage a new property. They already know what their bottom line is, so they're going to be able to negotiate 2-1 buy downs, 3-1 buy downs, where most sellers that's their departing home, and so they're really emotionally tied to it. So if they give a $20,000-$25,000 credit, very hard to extract that from them. Whereas a new builder has no emotions with it. They're just looking at we have to move inventory. We have to get our partners the money that they need to. So I think it's very different.
Yeah. Okay.
So I think for me, it'll help more.
No, I'm right on line with you. I think builders have a higher capacity of being able to move inventory and shake up the market. Whereas a seller would say, I'll wait until somebody, comes and buy my house. It's okay. I'll keep waiting. Whereas the seller's well, sprinkle some money in there, get some credits, and let's get.
What's funny with that, with the brand new builders, is they started practicing that whole NAR, not paying realtors commission for the last couple of years.
Oh yeah, and if
not,
you really
think about that,
or you get a finder's fee.
Yeah,
yeah.
That's all. They're not willing to pay that because they rather entice the home buyer, come on your own, and we're going to give you greater incentives. Well, we're giving them, we're going to give it to you. So I think who benefits a lot is going to be new builders.
New builders.
Me. Yeah.
Okay. All right, so new builders are going to have the upper hand in a reduced rate environment.
I think so.
I agree because
Okay.
in a world where everything's expensive and they see a new house compared to a house that needs some work, I mean, then they're incentivizing you to buy the new house. I mean, as a consumer, you're going to be like, well, I'll go with the new house. Like,
Now, if you're in Chula Vista, right, in our area where there's a Melrose, that could be very disheartening because then the taxes, you're talking about almost 2%.
Yeah.
And when the median sales price in this area is like 850,000, the taxes alone would just, clobber you.
And then
Yeah.
you see prices like, nice medium price houses like 750, 780, and you're like, oh, great, this is awesome. But then you go and do the numbers, HOA is going to run you 450. Your property taxes, like you said, ended up being like 1,400. So there
Yeah.
goes your savings, and
That's
now you're
it.
actually paying more than if it was a regular house.
Yeah, I think in general, what will happen is existing sellers are going to start listing their homes more. I think that because again, the second they are selling their house, they're the buyer, so they have to go hit the market. And I think part of what we saw kind of inadvertently happen is traditionally it's like, oh, when rates go high, listings shoot up. Well, that just wasn't the case here because everyone just listing their homes got 2% loans or 3%.
Exactly.
That golden handcuff. So now it kind of like had maneuvered a little bit, and you're like, hey, the high rate environment is actually keeping people on the sidelines. Now that rates are softening up a little bit, I think you're going to see more inventory. We're already seeing that happen.
It's
more
already there.
inventory, but also longer list times.
Yeah.
So I think sellers eventually are going to win. Not all sellers are going to be competing with new builders because there's some places that aren't building.
Yeah.
And so all there is existing inventory. And those sellers are going to be competing with each other, not seller versus 10 buyers. It's going to be, you'll have 10 buyers on your place, but also so will the next guy. And so they're going to have to start competing. Who's got the better house? Who's got the upgrades? Who's got the price? Who's got the scenario? And I think that's what we're going to start seeing a lot more of the fall and even through the winter.
Yeah. Well, that's a good segue into our next topic here.
Oh, yeah. What's the next one?
August home sales dropped more than expected as price set up new records, according to CNBC.
The
All right.
calm before the storm, I
That's
say.
it.
The
That's
calm
it.
before the storm.
Yeah.
Now, I take a little bit of an issue with this because, again, this is like a generalization. And yes, we make generalizations on this show all the time, but this is not true in a lot of places. So in some places, August home sales dropped more than expected because they rose a lot higher than expected the year before. I'm talking to you, Austin, Texas. I'm talking to you, Las Vegas, Nevada. I'm talking to you, Phoenix. I'm talking to you, Idaho. I'm talking to you, Florida. Right? So you had a 30, 40% increase. And you're like, oh, steep sales drop. Yeah, duh. What rises fast is going to fall fast. But it's not falling below where it started from. And that's where everyone needs to take a massive chill pill and just realize what we're talking about.
Why does it feel that there's a data-heavy article coming
Oh
up
my
after
God,
this?
come on.
Do you feel that? Or
I
is it
do.
just me? Like
I sense it.
I just sense that right there.
All right.
The
So-
will sense it.
All right, so I'm talking about price. I know I'm talking about price a little bit early, but again, this actually relates to the volume of sales. So again, in these same places that saw a really huge spike of people moving to them in 2022 to 2023, that's going to be slowed down for 23 compared to 24 because rates were higher. Mostly people that were going to migrate somewhere had already done that by handfuls.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like there's like the trickle effect where, there's some people still moving there. Oh, and they're moving into this place that already has a higher price. There's just less of them doing it. So this, I'm not surprised by at all because I'm not.
Yeah,
exactly. I'm not.
Exactly.
Sorry. That was a long, minute and a half rant.
That's good.
Well,
Thank
on
you.
a good
Appreciate
note, I mean, it's...
Thanks for watching. See you next week.
Yeah.
Thank you,
There
guys.
you go. Yeah, there's currently right now homes unsold. It was 725,000 last year. If you think about that, that's actually 37% more homes available right now for sale than we had last year.
That's a lot.
Because remember, we were talking about one of our podcasts, like, what do you think inventory is going to creep up to? And I think we're talking about 450, 650.
Yeah, like 650. Yeah.
You know, somewhere around there.
650,000.
Yeah. And here we are at 725
Yeah.
homes unsold, right? That's not the homes available nationwide, yes, but there's other stats here that go with that. But I wanted to do some research. So the homes that were sold last year was 4.1 million homes that were sold. On average, I put 10 years. The average has been between 5 to 5.5 million. In 2021, it was 6.1. No wonder we were so slammed.
Yeah.
You remember?
Yeah.
I couldn't go to the restaurant without taking a phone call.
Well,
I had to move my office down to the bathroom.
Yeah.
that's gross.
That was pretty cool. So the average is usually like 5.5 million is what we've seen on average. So a million homes, not being sold in a market right now in the last couple of years, you can feel it. There's
Yeah, I think so. The overall supply is still lower than what is traditionally called healthy. I think like 6 months. I think 6 months is the number they go.
Yeah,
with.
I did
Six
say,
month
yeah.
is 6 month supply is considered balanced or healthy.
Yeah.
And I guess we're at what 4.2 months. So there's still more inventory that could come, and it's not going to totally tilt the market into a tailspin.
No.
So that's good. But even though there's a lot more listings comparatively this year than last year, the prices are still staying the same. And again, there's no argument to really make for them to completely fall off a cliff and plummet because people are still in those homes making payments and there's no reason for them to sell.
Yeah.
So inventory is going to remain tight even though demand is still there.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, I see home prices unlikely to drop, and if they do, it's going to be very limited or very minimal. I just, at least here in San Diego and market to market, I just feel for us here in our local market, it's going to be very difficult to see a 20, 30, 40 price cut unless something drastic happens.
You brought that up before, and I remember saying like that'd be an indication that something much larger is going on underneath the entire financial environment, not just housing. I know that it's easy to pick on housing because it's of the great financial collapse of 08, 09, and 10, but again, unless there's a systemic problem, I don't know if that's on the horizon.
Yeah.
And
consumer debt.
well, yeah, that may be true, but again, then you have the equity argument for anyone who's got massive consumer debt and you own a home and you have equity. That's your get out of jail free card. I know people in the comments hate that because you shouldn't be using home equity to pay off debt. Okay, well, some people made some bad choices. Some people were hit with unexpected expenses. What else are they to do?
I
That's
think
my
maybe
argument.
people are at the point where, and I'm just kind of inferring here, at the point where it's like, well, up until when am I going to use that equity? We know that everybody's in debt. So at what point does it come to the decision hey, all right, it's time to tap into the equity?
I think it's at the point until you put yourself out of the game. You can't take yourself out of the game because if you make missed payments or you're exceeding your credit balances, then you're already now threatening your ability to get that equity out. That's what I'd say it is.
How many clients do we have that have their home paid off and they're coming back now because they want a reverse mortgage?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Or they have a family situation that they encounter. They never foreseen that would happen, and now next thing you know, they have to go into something. That happens
or they're taking
a lot.
A couple $100,000 out to go buy another place that they're going to keep and rent, or they're going to build ADUs on or something. There's a lot of different scenarios. It's not always. I know I always go to the personal debt thing, and people are using it equity. Yes, but it's also because of other long-term goals that they're working on too.
Yeah.
So
there's a lot of things that happen that are just you think you got it all figured out, and if you have your house paid off, good for you. That's awesome. Congratulations, actually.
Quick correlation, because we had talked about this a couple weeks ago, how Gen Z is chomping at the heels of the millennials and Gen X as far as home buyers. You saw that in August of 2024, 26% of the home sales were from first-time home buyers.
First-time home buyers.
And broadly, those were Gen Z home buyers. And Gen Z has this attitude because they didn't live through in a cognizant way. They didn't live through 2006 and 7, or 8, 9, and 10. They might have been a lot younger. They were a lot younger. Well, so it's not real to them, as real as it is to maybe someone in Brian's age, late 20s, early 30s.
Hey.
No, I'm talking about you. Yeah, I'm talking about you and everyone else that's with you.
No, but we had one of our listeners chime in on the comments. He said, I didn't live through this, so for me it was rather oblivious. I didn't know. So now all I'm focusing on is I just graduated. I finally have a solid paying job, and all I'm focused on is saving so that I can buy my house.
Yeah.
And he said it with a lot of conviction. That's all I know. That's all I want. And he's like, you clearly said exactly what I think. Yeah. And I'm like, yep. You and a lot of people.
To me, it's like my parents talking to me about buying their first house in the 70s for $78,000 or something at 13%. And then the inflation of the late 70s and the early 80s, I'm like, I didn't know that I hear about this by proxy, secondhand. So it wasn't real to me. So when I am, in my 20s and my 30s, and I look at the market the way it is, this is the way it is, because I'm looking at it in this window of this horse blinder window, and I think there's more of this to come. Where I think a lot of our first-time home buyers are going to be Gen Z, and there's going to be maybe some less cash buyers, maybe less investors. That depends. That's a bigger conversation. But I know that right now the Gen Zs are chomping at the bit for home ownership.
No, and you know what's cool about with the Gen Zs too? They're actually being very diverse. They're diversifying certain things. They're taking advantage of the 401k companies matching. They're saying, screw it. Hey, if my company's matching, I'm going to put as much as they'll match me.
Essentially free money.
And that's what you guys have. People, if they're matching your company, put money into that retirement. You're just going to get free money. With the compounding interest, it's not going to be such a bad thing for you. So take advantage of those things.
in general, the whole idea of freedom of blank is a common theme. Freedom of time, freedom of work, freedom in finances, and freedom of like choice to just kind of go wherever, do wherever, do whatever I want to do wherever I want, and where I want to go and when and how and on what terms. Like that is a like common denominator, and I think that housing and the choice to buy housing is just one of those things that reveals that attitude.
Oh yeah, it's going to help you again being diverse, like owning a home, putting your money in the stocks, retirement, whatever that may be. Like start doing that now at an early age. Whether even if it's $100 right now, like go ahead, just start saving. Get used to that habit of doing those things. You know, don't always put all your eggs in one basket. And a lot of us put all our eggs in one basket, whether it's just going to be real estate or the stock market. Something goes sideways, like you're done. It's going to hurt.
There is only one place where I put all my eggs in the basket. You know what that is?
Data.
The grocery store. You said data? Dang, you're like hey, this guy's such a nerd. We're gonna say data. At the grocery store. That's a terrible dad joke.
Data.
You know, like the dad joke? It's not a data joke. It's a dad joke. Okay, God, we gotta go on.
Yeah.
Bring it home, guys. We're talking real quick about CoreLogic.
No, take us home,
U.S.
Eddie.
home price insights. Thank you for. I'm gonna say enduring this with me. So we have current. Home price index indicates that home prices right now are at 4.3% up year over year. They're forecast next year to only be 2.2% up, but still up nonetheless.
Yeah.
Now, we have these kind of competing articles. It's like, oh, well, home price declines higher volume of home price declines this year than last year.
Yeah.
Okay. More inventory is coming. Equity at all-time high. Now we have home price slowing but not declining. I am not inclined to argue against this because the inventory versus affordability conversation, and when I look at how much new building is coming online or not, I think that we're in this lock of house prices staying broadly and not even dipping 10% nationally. Yeah. I don't see it. I see it. It's obviously positive this year. I do agree that it's still going to be positive into 2025 as well.
Yeah.
Something else would have to happen awry that would cause that number of 2.2% to be lower than 2.2%.
Again, it's up. The prediction's up. So
it's up.
If you're looking to buy a house, this is great information, right? Like, okay, I could still earn some equity there.
Yeah. And this isn't to appease anybody either, by the way.
No.
So, CoreLogic isn't like beholden to, person A running or person B running. This is a data business. Yes, I know all business has politics connected to it, but I'm saying that they're surveying data that's publicly recorded data.
Yeah.
And so their source is actual information to then create these graphs and charts so we can have these talking points and go over things. So
I'm really grateful for the people at CoreLogic because I would not want to have that job.
It's okay. I know. Don't they make it so easy for us? Okay,
look at these graphs.
Look at this colorful chart.
They do not get enough recognition out there at CoreLogic for all the back end
really
calculations
big number on it. I do think fall's the new summer. They're quoting here that this is the 150th consecutive month that the U.S. has seen year-over-year home price gains.
But that's also alarming because how much higher can we go? How much longer can it last?
That's a great point because I sell right now. For what am I going to do?
Probably you're right back into the same. You're back in the dog race,
and my payment's higher.
Yeah.
Even if I throw everything,
you're still not going to beat your price at all.
So I think, first of all, put that in this context. 150 months is 12 and a half years. Okay, that's 12 and a half years of consistent. So since essentially the beginning of 2012. Okay, let's just keep it simple.
Straight freaking.
So
rising.
we're in September of 2024. We're basically talking about the beginning of 2012, and it's been on this rise. But I do think we're at a plateau right now.
Yeah.
Even though the forecast is still positive 2.2% for next year, it's plateauing because where we were 12 months ago wasn't just 2% lower or 4%. It was a lot lower, like 70% lower. We were coming right out of the great financial collapse. Prices had tanked. People were gobbling up homes. There was tons of inventory, more than there was demand. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, prices started ticking up. And then for 12 and a half years, we've been on this run. So I think the plateau is upon us. And they're even saying this here, the sluggishness. The sluggishness is attributed to mortgage rates that are challenging the housing market. Buyers remain cautious. Sales remain low. Even though inventory is coming up, people have an affordability issue. I think the plateau is upon us and maybe an ever so slightly increase in some places. Mm-hmm. Okay? Here's a really interesting thing for me. Again, no states posted a home price decline. So even though certain municipalities might have a decline, because maybe everyone's already moved there, and maybe all the migration that's happening to that town has already happened, and the price spike has already occurred, and it's over, there are no states that have posted a home price declines. That, I think, is,
that's crazy.
For me, a definitive confirmation of a plateau. Once we start seeing one state or two states or three states as a whole state have a partial decline, then we can change the tone of our conversation. Yeah. Agree? Disagree?
Yep.
Yes, sir.
I agree.
All right. Another
That's
quick
crazy.
note. Another quick note. The home price index by state, the highest increases year over year: Rhode Island, 10.6%, New Jersey, 9.7%, Connecticut, 8.3%, South Dakota, 8.1%, and Illinois, 7.5%. You guys, remember these states? Idaho, Texas, Nevada, Arizona, Florida. Remember all those states?
Yeah.
Those were the ones that were on this list like in 2023 and 2022. I want to say it's 2022 and 23. I didn't go double check this, so you can fact check me in the comments if you want. I actually did not pre-show check those, but I know we talked about those because this is where we were seeing people go to in droves, and those prices went up by 20, 30, and in some cases 40%. Yeah. Austin, Texas was one of those places for sure.
Look at this. Florida has 3 of the top 5. Top markets at risk of home price decline.
Yeah. I think, I don't know.
Damn, Florida.
Get
it together.
When you look at like at the cities, there's a lot of reasons for that. Some of that is actually weather, and some of it is weather, and some of it's economics.
Yeah.
Economics is broadly the issue. When you start looking at like mortgage delinquencies and other like consumer delinquencies, it usually has a lot to do with 2 things: weather and job loss.
Yeah.
Massive job loss. Like a big company moves out of town, or that company goes out of business, or the factory closes, whatever. That will cause it. San Diego is still on the list of municipalities that are on the rise. So once again, San Diego's in the top 10 because we just are. We're landlocked from 3 sides, and there's nowhere else to go east. Very, very.
They don't
a lot less space east to go.
I thought, 4 sides.
Anyways, do you guys have any other comments about this one? I know you guys are like, Andy's just rolling on this. There's not much to say.
No, this is
what
great.
The say.
That is key, right? Like
Numbers are good. That is great.
You guys are cold.
I love it here.
You guys are so cold. You know what?
He said that is good.
I'll sit on the side and listen when you guys talk about soccer. How about that? You guys can do a show about soccer, and I'll just sit here.
There you go.
Wow, those guys know a lot about soccer.
Hey, that's me. Well, wow, this guy knows a lot about stats.
All of a sudden, yeah.
Big dork. All right, guys. Favorite part of the show. Memo, tell me.
Mine was just, the very first article showing the 12 key elements that you need to start preparing better. It's always good just to, not only improve yourself, improve your finances, talk to the creditors. A lot of people don't know that. I picked up the phone, talked to my creditors. Hey, the other credit card company's offering 8%, and all of a sudden they will give you that 8%. You know, because they got different community type of offerings, if you will. And that's something I've done in the past many, many years ago. I haven't had to do that lately. But that's just, I like all that information that they had to share right there.
That's the cheaper to keeper strategy. Like, better keep this customer,
exactly.
and then watch them walk out the door.
Exactly.
That's a great one. How about you, Brian?
I like the sense of optimism. Mortgage rates take a dive, and I think it's going to bring a lot more, positive attitudes to the market. Although it's probably going to still, bring some issues, but at the same time, it feels good to be able to give, a positive sense outlook on rates and finally say, hey, they're coming down or they're cutting, and we're seeing, an improvement rather than, hey, they're up 8%, still at 8.
Exactly.
So, it's a breath of fresh air.
It really is.
I'm with you as well. Mine was the optimism article today, mostly just because we've waited so long to start talking about these things, with the Fed raising rates since March of 22, seeing that firsthand, being on the front lines of mortgage rates going up, staying up, being elevated, having price pressure, seeing people who really honestly want to buy a home be like priced out. It's devastating. It really sucks. And again, yes, you guys all wear a mortgage hat. Yeah, you sell loans. You're supposed to sell loans. You guys are all rich. Okay. We still care about people getting homes, and when people cannot get homes, it really does bother me. And I want people to be able to afford to get a home. They live here, they work here. In a lot of cases, they're active duty military or they're veterans. I honestly want them to be able to get a home. And sometimes when it's the optimism that's in the way, sometimes we can't overcome that. That has to happen at the personal level. But if that's what's changing right now, I'm super excited about that.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
cannot wait.
Prepare.
I think you said it so perfect, and I feel like yeah, we do sell mortgages, and yeah, we're in real estate, but we also really enjoy what we do. And if you hated what you did, then why would you be doing it? And I think we get a rise and a joy from helping people that thankfully translates into us making a living out of this business. But I mean, if you don't like people, you don't have to choose to do mortgages. You don't have to choose to be in sales. You could do anything else.
Whatever you want.
But at the root of it, I think we all enjoy being around people, helping people find solutions for people, and guiding them in the right way. Overall, whether it's for a mortgage, for an advice, for breakups, for life advice, I think it's just, the help of wanting people.
Hold on. We don't have applications for those things.
You don't. I mean, the best thing about it is...
Yes, we do. It's called subscribe. It's called follow us on Instagram.
Comment,
follow us on... There it is. What do you
Brian
mean?
for life and relationship advice. Brian at yourmortgageheroes.com.
That's it.
Well, when you meet clients, you literally get to know them on a full basis. By the end of the day, you know their whole life, and you're kind of going back and forth, mediating between, husband and wife, and then you got to, keep the kids happy too, because they want their own room. So it's kind of like you play all
kinds
cards.
of roles.
We signed up for one license, but they didn't, they failed to disclose that all these other hats needed to be worn as well.
Brian and Will, loan officers and life counselors. There you go. Family therapists.
That's it.
All right. Thank you guys. I really appreciate you. Thank you for being on the show. Thank you all for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, like this video, forward it to someone who you love and care about so they can win in mortgage and real estate. And we'll see you guys again next week. Next week. Are we all here next week?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. We'll see you all next week.